So I really like The Legend of Korra. You gotta deal with it, but also there are some critiques that need to be leveled against the show. Hey guys, welcome to my Before You Watch. Today we're going to be talking about Legend of Korra Book 1 Air. This is a non-spoiler review. This is mostly for those who are going to be coming in from the Netflix, flood that's going to happen very soon. So these are for people, or this is a non-spoiler review for people who are thinking about watching the show on Netflix. First, I'm going to talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and if I recommend it to you or not, especially considering that I'm talking to a lot of new Airbender fans who might be interested in the next series. First, let's talk about the things I like. I am totally in love with Republic City. I love everything about it. I love the progression of the world. I love that we're now seeing what has become of Aang's new world, what he did to bring the nations together into one city, which is kind of like a mix of Hong Kong and New York put together. And I'm also really into Korra, the character herself. She's definitely an anti-Aang in that she is the complete opposite. Even one of the characters that we meet, her name is Lin, says, I can't believe, Aang got reincarnated to her, because she's the complete opposite of Aang, honestly. And I actually like that choice to write a story about someone who is completely different from the previous Avatar that we saw. Korra is very headstrong. She's all about the physical elements of fighting and bending. She's definitely not a pacifist. She's not a monk. She's not carefree. I mean, she's definitely carefree, or she's more wide-eyed, especially when we first see her come to Republic City. We see how sheltered she is because for her entire life, she's been in this compound in the Southern Water Tribe because now they're being very protective. Very similar to how it was in the old Avatar days, because before Aang went away in the iceberg and had to train, on his own. This is kind of how it kind of worked for the Avatars. Granted, they were able to travel more freely, as we saw with Roku and some of the other Avatars, but now they're being very precautious about, hey, we need to keep our Avatars safe. So they have her, safeguarded in this compound for 16 years, and she hasn't really interacted with the world at all until the first episode. And we kind of see how she navigates the world and how it's difficult to do that when you haven't really been interacting with people, because I think the big thing about Korra is that she's so good at the bending arts of the Avatar business. Like when it talks about fighting, she's got that down pat, but her issue is kind of like the diplomacy and the interactions between benders and non-benders, and how to be a political head and a political figure. She has none of that skill set at all, and that's what she's kind of learning in this book. Also, what I really love, a huge upgrade to this series, is the fight scenes themselves, and not just the fact that it's more well animated and there's more quality to it, it's HD now, but just the fluidity of the fights themselves are really nice to see. You can really see that they were animating, and then this is true of the old series as well, but I feel like basically the highlights of the first series and Avatar: The Last Airbender shows up throughout every fight, even the tiniest fights in Korra, and the music in Korra is incredible. It's amazing. There's a particular moment I love when it might have like an upbeat kind of feeling. We come from a scene that's very happy and upbeat, and then it starts like the same score continuing through the next scene starts to like deteriorate into the villain's theme, which of course is Amon from this season. And I thought they did that very well. And I think that was a very effective use of sound and soundscape and breaking it down, because Amon wants to break down the structure of Republic City. Now the big thing about this series is about basically benders against non-benders, especially when we're in this urban environment where there's a lot more ideas of job force and people having jobs and not having jobs based on if they're a bender or they're not a bender. And I like all of that about it. I love pro-bending. I know that gets critiqued sometimes. I don't have any issues with it at all. I am kind of confused on the rules though. I don't know what the rules of pro-bending are. I don't understand it when people score points, things like that. That I still need to figure out. But other than that, it's actually really cool. Now the things I didn't like, there isn't much I didn't like. And what I'm trying to say with that is that typically you might hear this, you'll hear this through the grapevine, that there are a certain few fans in the franchise overall who do not like Legend of Korra. They absolutely hate it. They think it's abysmal. They think it's trash. I would advise you not to listen to those people. I think that they definitely are overblowing that situation. I really want to see what those people are watching in their day-to-day, because there's not very many shows that can stand up to Korra season 1. My biggest criticism of it isn't anything that's foundational. I don't think there's any issues with it foundationally. My issue is that I just wanted more of it, and I wanted a deeper insight into some of the characters. Like, we got a little bit of it, I feel like, in the first few episodes. In the middle, it got caught up in, the plot of the overall plot. But to be honest, I kind of wanted more filler episodes. And by that, when I say filler episodes, that gets a bad rap of being like, oh, it's a filler because, from anime, fillers because there's no manga to go off of, so they have to like fill it up with, fake episodes that never happened within the manga itself. I don't mean it like that. When I say filler episodes, I'm speaking of deepening the relationships we have with these characters, and we get little insights of this from the characters just in the few 11 episodes we get in this season. But I wanted more of that, and I wanted single episodes, not just for the side characters like Asami and Bolin and Mako. I would have loved, it'd be great if we would have got some some deep backstory between Mako and Bolin, as we will get over the course of the whole series. But I think here it would have helped a lot to see that. I think it would have helped to even see more of the relationship stuff that we had between Korra, Asami, and Mako. But most of all, I think Amon, we do get backstory on Amon. I'm not saying that we don't get it, but I think we needed to see more of not just the origins of his abilities and how he's able to do what he can do, but more so just getting more inside of his mind, because I don't feel like at the end of the series I understand fully what his motivations were, or what his true motivations were. I understand what he is, trying to put out on the exterior, but internally I don't know what his actual end goal was or what he actually felt. And there's things that I could kind of headcanon and make for myself, but in terms of the show itself, I think it needs it. And a huge thing that I thought about when I was rewatching the series is that there's something that Game of Thrones did very well in its series, and they always did this from season to season. They ended their seasons not with the climactic episode, like the big battle or the big conflict or whatever that was. They ended it on an entire episode of resolution. And that's not just a criticism I have about Legend of Korra. I think it's a criticism I have of Airbender as well, and many other shows, that they don't take time to sit with the resolution. And I think this series in particular really, really would have benefited from it, because basically that resolution is truncated to just 5 minutes at the very end. And I think that needed at least maybe half an episode, if not an entire episode. But I think the benefit would have been an entire episode. Now, of course, I can't put this criticism on the creators themselves, because Nick only gave them as many episodes as they got. I'm sure they would have loved to have more. I don't know. I wasn't, in those board meetings. I don't know what they were, talking about. But I think the main critique here is that no, Korra is not a mess. And this is just season one. This might change with my other reviews of the other seasons. Korra is not a mess at all. Nothing about it foundationally is an issue. The biggest thing for me is that I think it just needed to expand and get deeper into the world, get deeper into some of these characters, so that we can feel for them more when we get to the finale. Because in the finale, it does feel slightly hollow, because especially with some characters who just kind of get inserted at the end, it's kind of like, well, I'm not fully caring about these people enough, and I want to see more into, especially with the finale with Korra and what she has to go through. I feel like that moment, especially what happens at the very end, needed to be expanded so that we can really understand why she was able, or what she went through and why she was able to do what she could do. Again, that Game of Thrones resolution episode, an entire episode of resolution, I think would have helped a lot. Now, would I recommend this? Yes. If you are a Last Airbender fan, despite if you hear from other people that you should not and you should skip Korra, I completely disagree with that facet. If you like Airbender, if you truly, really like Airbender, you're going to enjoy Korra. Especially if you're going into it with a positive mindset. It's really a phenomenal show. Like, it really is. Like, again, if you can, particularly the people who are critical of Korra to, an extreme extent, please tell me what you're watching. Please tell me what you're watching in the comments below that you think is better than Korra, because I honestly don't know this. Maybe I'm just not watching enough shows or whatever. I'm just not privy to any of that. Let me know, because I seriously cannot put too many shows above Korra, and that is a criticism that I think comes from the fact that Airbender is a near masterpiece. There may be like one or two episodes, maybe a few beats that you might not agree with in Airbender that don't make it perfect, but it's a 99%. If we're talking about like NBA 2K here, it's a 99% in terms of like quality of show. So of course you're not going to be able to live up to that. But I do think that Korra had the potential to surpass Airbender. The foundation was there, and for me, like I said in my critique, it just needed more time to be in its world and to let us love these characters in the same way that we fell in love with the old Team Avatar, because I think Team Avatar in this one is what's the weakest about the Korra series. But ultimately, yes, I would recommend it to people to watch season 1 of Korra. Now season 2 of Korra, which I'm going to get to next, I can't say I can recommend that one, but then again, I have not rewatched it in its fullness since it came out, so I might change my mind, just in the same way I changed my mind a lot about season 1, because I was, when you don't rewatch something enough and you're hearing all this stuff about people being like, well, this stinks and that sucks and I can't believe this and that. I'll get into that more in my after you watch The Legend of Korra, so check out my live streams for that later, and I really want to dive in deep into what I feel about the series in that regard. But that is it. I want to know what you guys think in the comments below of season 1. Let's try to keep it spoiler free for the new fans who are coming in. Of course, I know I can't mandate that completely, and it's hard to talk about what you're actually feeling in the comments. So maybe even I would say people who haven't watched it yet, just look at my review, but don't look at the comments. But again, let's try and be at least somewhat vague about what we're talking about in the comments below. And then we'll talk about in depth how we felt about the season after you read, and then we'll do all that together. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the show. I'll see you guys in the next one. And of course, peace, love, and remember, be water, my friends.